This is Justin.
And this is Haley, and you're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize conversations about money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows.
The do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi Toasties, welcome to Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we're so glad to have this conversation with you today.
You guys, a freaking tree fell on our life.
This is a very honest way to describe everything that we've been through.
I don't really know where else to begin.
Yeah, we wanted to get on and share our Snowmageddon, snowpocalypse, snowstorm story with you guys because many of you were following along through our Instagram, and it was just a whirlwind. It was just a mess to start the new year.
So if you're new and this is your first episode listening, hi, we're Justin and Haley. We live in beautiful sunny California where it doesn't typically snow. And then, global warming and weird shit happens. So it snowed this year.
Yeah, absolutely wild. So it's 2 days after Christmas, and in the town that we live in, there's a light dusting every now and then. There's a little bit of snow.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like I grew up here. It snows, but it snows maybe once or twice. It doesn't stick. You can usually drive. It's not like a big deal. This was a lot of snow.
Yeah. So 2 days after Christmas, we have a generational snowstorm that hits our town. And I wake up at about 7 a.m., power's out, to Haley saying, Justin, there's a tree across all three of our cars.
That's not how I said it.
Yeah, well, it was much more frantic and with much more panic in your voice, yeah.
I was like crying.
Yeah.
I was so shocked that I walked outside and there were trees covering all of our cars. And all of them, meaning three, because if you've been listening for a while, we just bought two new to us cars like a week or two right before this. And so we had that, and then we had another car that we were planning on selling. So we had three cars, and trees were on top of all of them. And I was like, oh my God, thank God we didn't get smushed, and our kids didn't get smushed. Like, the house didn't get a tree on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely didn't just say there's trees on the cars.
No, you were, again, much more frantic for sure. And so we go outside, and we see that Haley is correct. There is a tree across our cars. There are power lines down. There is, trees blocking the entrance to our home. Like, it was an absolute mess. And, we go on social media and realize that much of our community was facing the same. There were a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down, a lot of power poles destroyed, trees through folks' home, trees on people's cars, trees in the middle of the road, people without power, obviously, people that were slowly running out of propane. It was a pretty hard storm that we got hit with.
Yeah, and thankfully, if you follow our Instagram, you would know that a couple weeks before, we ran out of propane. So we had to fill our gigantic propane tank, which was $370. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had to fill that just 2 weeks before. So thankfully, we had a full propane tank. But it didn't matter because we had no power. We had no water. So propane would have just, lit the stove.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, we have a generator, but it's not hooked up. So it's safe to say that we were not prepared.
We were not prepared. So Haley wakes me up, and, we do the standard, get out the flashlights, make sure there's no other damage that we can see in the house, start to reach out to her mom, who is our landlord, to let her know what's going on. And I mentioned to Haley, it's probably good that we live where we do, because there is some weirdo driving around right now with a chainsaw in their truck that just wants to help the community. And no less than 5 minutes later, Haley's mom's boyfriend showed up at the house to assess the damage. And I promise you, he goes, wow, that's a pretty big tree down. I'm going to go home and get the chainsaw. And it is that moment that I knew, okay, well, I should probably help as well. So I went into the closet and I got my New Balance running shoes on, which were my work shoes, and some of my work pants that I had left over from when I was in the academy, and a sweatshirt because I didn't really have a snow jacket.
Yeah. You definitely weren't prepared
I
for the
was not
clothing.
prepared.
Well, we need to get you a few things.
Yeah.
One of them being some shoes. And you need a jacket.
Yes.
And then these toasties were about to throw up a GoFundMe to get you a chainsaw.
Well, yes. I mean, I appreciate them. I went out there, and we don't have a chainsaw, so I just went out with a handsaw. And I figured I can start cutting some of the smaller limbs down. And so I did. Went out there in my New Balances and my Under Armour hoodie, and I just started cutting some of the smaller limbs down off of the cars. And one car that was at the trunk of the tree was one of the newer ones. Right in the middle was another one of the newer ones, and then the one that was closest to our doorway that I could access, probably the easiest to get some of the smaller limbs off, was the old Suburban. That is the famed old Suburban that we've had, since this podcast has kind of gotten rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
So that's what I started on. There's some pictures on the Instagram of me with my handsaw cutting limbs off of the old Suburban.
Yeah. How long were you out there?
We were out there for a while, so
like 6 hours or so,
yeah.
right?
So I'm cutting with the handsaw, and your mom's boyfriend shows up with his chainsaw, and he gets rocking and rolling as well on some of the bigger limbs that the chainsaw can get through. And our thought process was, let's get some of the weight off of the tree from the top, and then slowly work our way down, because his chainsaw was a little bit smaller. It wasn't like he could just go and start.
It was really tiny.
Yeah, he couldn't just start cutting up this tree in chunks. We had to kind of piecemeal it by going top down, and so we did. And we worked for about 6-7 hours out there, cutting and clearing and cutting and clearing, and we just threw it all into the front yards. There's huge tree laying out in the lawn. And as we cleared a car, we just kind of assessed the damage. We had known at this point that the back window and the sunroof of the Suburban were knocked out. And we knew that there were some dents as well in the hood and some scratches and all that. Luckily, that was the extent of the cosmetic damage. Who knows what happened, underneath the hood, whether or not anything was compressed. We lost a car seat that was on that side of the window that got knocked out and had snow damage, I guess water damage, really, you'd call it.
Yeah, that's an important note for people to know, that car seats have a whole lot of rules about when they can be reused and all of that, but because it had significant water damage, it cannot be used.
Yeah.
It would need like new straps and new padding and basically a whole new car seat.
Yeah.
So that, thankfully, our insurance is going to be paying us for a new one.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we spent about 6 or 7 hours clearing the cars. And so we cleared that older Suburban first and got it out of the way, moved it down to a little bit, into the lawn, so then we could start working on the newer Suburban. And somehow that did not take much damage. There's some hood dents and some side scratches, and some issues with a headlight. We think one of the headlights got busted, but it's drivable.
But like, of all of the cars, I'm so surprised that, I mean, the windshields weren't shattered, the airbags didn't go off. Like, the impact of the tree must have just been perfect on all three of them.
Yeah, pretty
like,
wild.
You have this vision of a tree falling, and it's just like poof, and shattering everything. But that doesn't. It's not really what happened. It was very weird.
Yeah, this must have fallen much more slowly.
Yeah. And then the other car, the way that was, it looked like it was carrying all the weight of the tree, but it wasn't really.
No.
So the damage on the new CRV is similar to the others, just really cosmetic dents on the hood.
Yeah.
So that's the extent of the damages with our vehicles. And then we also had the tree sideswiped the roof on the garage and messed up the gutters, but thankfully it's nothing like we don't need to replace the roof. I mean, we are renting, so we wouldn't have to do that anyway. But the roof doesn't need to be replaced. No major structural damages.
No, a fence got knocked by a neighbor's tree that fell down, but we put a couple screws in it and it's good again. So yeah.
There was one structural damage,
Mhm.
and it was the water line.
Yeah. So we work for 7 hours clearing these trees, and we get them off our cars, but we don't have power, and we don't have water because when the tree um, fell, the water line got busted. We'd figure this out because the water company was driving around assessing damage and realized that our water meter was spiking. And they were like, hey, it's not coming from the main. It's somewhere between the main and the house, which means this is a property owner issue. You guys have to fix this. So they turned off our water for us, thank goodness. But we realized we have 2 young kids. We'd have no power and no water. And we have to do something or go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
we were not going to be able to do anything. So we decided, okay, we're going to pack up. We're going to load things into the car and we are going to grandma's house, which is 5 minutes away. And we're going to be staying with them for a little bit. So we got the kids and the dogs in the cars about 2 hours later once the girls woke up from a nap. And we headed to your mom's, unknowingly, unaware of how long we'd be there.
Yeah, we had this idea that it would take a while.
Yeah.
But we were there for 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
And, people can make do without those things when they have a generator. With water, we could have stayed in the house if we just had the stove working. With the, when I say stove, I mean the fireplace. If we could have had heat with the fireplace, and if we had water, our water heater is like a gas, so we still would have had hot water.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have been fine that way. But we didn't have water. We didn't have anything. So we were like, okay, this is not going to really work. So we decided to leave, and I'm really happy we did. I know some people that stayed in their houses the whole time and were spending like $60 to $80 a day on gasoline to run their generators.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that we were very fortunate to have someone nearby. There was a lot that went into it, but my initial thought was like insurance. Like, what the hell just happened? How are we gonna pay for this? Who's gonna handle everything? And it was kind of a bit of a frantic panic of how to sort all of that. Thankfully, our renter's insurance and car insurance is all bundled with the same insurance company, so that did make it a little easier. But we had to open 4 claims. We opened 3 car claims and 1 insurance claim for the renter's insurance. And the process was relatively simple once I got on the phone to just tell them the damages, and they actually declared on the phone that the old Suburban that we were about to sell was likely to be completely totaled. And so the process for that one was slightly different than the other 2. They set up a company to come get the car, to have it assessed and everything, and with the other 2 cars, everything's still pending. So I have no idea what's going to happen with the CRV and the new Suburban. The insurance will cover things. They're just moving much slower. But they actually totaled out the Suburban. Someone came and got it, and they looked at it, and they said, okay, this is beyond what the value of the car is. So they gave us the quote, and they're going to pay us for what we were going to sell it for. So it's kind of, in the grand scheme of the situation,
It's a wash.
it's the silver lining.
Yeah.
Like, we had this car we were going to sell, and we didn't have to do anything. They just came and got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, while we were at your mom's, you're also taking care of a lot of the insurance stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you took care of was something that I really appreciated our insurance company did was they actually direct deposited $400 into our bank account to cover for lost food. Now, if we would have stayed here, probably could have thrown some food out into the snow or done some type of snow packing to keep some of it. But we lost a decent amount from the fridge and in the freezers due to losing power and being without power for a little bit. And I was really appreciative that the insurance company direct deposited that money. It was really cool that they immediately took care of that, because I think that if there were people that weren't in our situation where we could easily take care of restocking groceries or something like that, that money would have been really, really beneficial. And I was
Oh,
really appreciative of that.
totally. And I talked to a lot of people online in some of the local groups that we're in about the insurance and how that has all panned out. But with the renter's insurance, they do cover lost food. And when I called to tell them that, they were like, okay, well, how much? And I just pulled $400 out of the air, thinking like all of the condiments and everything. It was probably, I'd say that was a pretty close guess.
I
It
think
might have
so.
been a little more than that, but um, they didn't question it. I didn't need receipts or anything. So it was a very easy process. Now, I'm sure if I told them $1,400, they would have been like, yeah, right. But we have two fridges and two freezers, so it makes sense that a family would have that much food that would be lost.
Hmm.
Now, a couple other things that the insurance company covers is that they cover lodging. So if you have to be in a hotel, they would have covered that completely. They cover food, so they covered all of our groceries and restaurants and stuff that we got that week, and they also cover your gas, so your transportation. So if you're forced out of your home for some reason, like a power outage, just know that if you do have renter's insurance, and I'm assuming homeowner's insurance as well, that would be covered as reimbursements. And if you do not have the funds to front things up front, um, they might be able to wire you the money up front. I don't totally know. For us, we went the route of paying for everything, and we're going to be
Hmm.
getting reimbursed, but I know that it might be a little easier depending on who your insurance company is. And if you're wondering, we have USAA, so they
Yeah.
were very cooperative.
Yeah. And we saved, receipts that were not crazy expensive. I think totaled a little over $300 over the 11 days that we were out between groceries, uh, one gas stop for your vehicle, and restaurants. I think we went to
Mhm.
two places, maybe 2 nights out away. Because I really enjoyed cooking dinner at your mom's house, but then I also didn't really enjoy it because it was just a hassle being away from my own
Oh
home,
yeah,
trying to navigate your mom's kitchen, figure out where stuff's at, the food, like navigating where food is and everything. Being displaced is certainly not easy. It was a lot of stress and a lot of frustration, a lot of anger at times. But we didn't, just like go off the rails and take advantage of it and go to stay at some hotel and eat out every single night. Like we were just buying groceries and eating at home as best possible. We
yeah.
made a really good chicken piccata one night. That was pretty good.
But like, if you are in a hotel, the reality is, unless you're in an extended stay with a kitchen,
Yeah,
you're probably eating out
eating out.
multiple times a day.
Yeah,
So I didn't feel bad that we went to Panda Express and ordered some pizza.
no,
I mean, what?
not. We didn't order pizza from Panda Express.
Or at the same night. No, two
Yeah,
separate nights.
yeah,
Because that's much less than it could have been, you
yeah,
know?
for sure.
But the whole thing made me really thankful that we had renter's insurance
Yeah,
because renter's insurance is very cheap. And then I've also been hearing people say, like, well, I don't want to make claims against my homeowner's insurance because I don't want it to increase. And thankfully, we don't have that issue because we're renters.
hmm,
Um, and like with it increasing significantly. With the cars, they're all comprehensive losses, meaning that we didn't have any control in the situation. It's a active nature, therefore the insurance should not increase. Now they could change their tune on that and increase us, but it should not increase.
typically people don't have comprehensive loss as an insurance policy. Usually people just have collision, whether that's fault or no fault of theirs. Comprehensive loss isn't always added into people's auto insurance policies. So I really do suggest people look into their auto insurance policies. It's, I believe, much better to pay up front for what you think could potentially come down in the pipeline than to have something happen and feel stuck without any support or help. That's what insurance is for. Now, if you have the emergency fund to, totally recover a vehicle, awesome. Go for it. But I really do think people should look into it because comprehensive loss isn't always covered. And you have to think of what comprehensive loss truly is. They use words like act of God, things like nature or something like that happening, but you have to think what are some other things. Very easy to hit a deer early morning or late at night driving in many places in the country. So that is considered a comprehensive loss. There's a lot of things that fall under that category, and people should be aware of it because it's important when you have insurance like that.
I don't think I added that until we moved here when I was doing an audit of our insurance.
Mm.
So
Well,
go me
yeah,
on
shout out
timing.
you. Thanks, appreciate that.
Well, I don't even think it was me. It was the lady on the phone, and she was like, you're severely underinsured, and here are the reasons why. Here's what you need to have, and no one knows how much insurance they need to be holding, and Anyway, I just think it's important to make sure that you are adequately insured for how much money you have, because you need to be protecting yourself and your assets and the situations that you live in. Like, if
Yeah.
you live somewhere where you have a lot of trees, I never in my wildest dreams thought a tree would fall on our cars.
Yeah.
But here we go. This is emergency fund worthy.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's basically the gist of our story. I mean, I know you all want to hear about the psychotic neighbor.
Let's give them just the abridged version ending, which is that the water line that actually broke because a neighbor's tree that was acting like a real jerk earlier on in all of this had fallen, hit rocks that they had, like, in their yard as, I don't know, boundary rocks or display or something, and hit the
They
water
probably
line.
had them lined up like, this is the property line. Do not touch.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Don't cross these rocks to come get trees. And so their tree fell, hit the rocks, broke the water line, and eventually they acknowledged that and had a plumber out the next day to fix the water line, which they did. So after 11 days, we had power and water, and we were able to come back home.
Yeah, so they were unkind,
Very.
but in the end it worked out, and my mom didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I do want to share one more thing about them because this is ridiculous. Two things. The first one being, I'm carving limbs off of the old Suburban with a handsaw in the aftermath of a snowstorm, and they're walking by, checking things out. And
You guys, these people are like maybe late 60s, early 70s. They're not like a Karen that's 40 years old.
no,
They're older folks.
yes, and they are white, in case you're wondering. Uh, because yeah, so they're walking by, surveying things, and I had never met them yet, right? And I'm like trying to work, and they're talking to me and stuff. But this is what blew my mind. I'm cutting a tree off of my vehicles, and the woman goes, "Oh, wow, yeah, this is just really bad. Luckily, no trees fell on the house, but we have to go to the other side of the property to see if a tree hit the RV." And I wanted to be like, how tone deaf are you right now? I'm literally carving a tree off of my cars, and you know that I have kids in the house, that a tree just missed by feet. Literal feet. That tree missed our home. And you're telling me that you're worried about your RV getting hit by a car? Like, get out of here, you're delusional. I don't care. And then later, me and your mom's boyfriend are carving the trees off the cars still, and the husband walks by and just stands at the end of the driveway and watches. And at this point, we were cutting up the tree of theirs that fell into our driveway. And I wanted to be like, "Hey, bud, recognize the tree? Grab a saw. Grab some clippers. I don't care, dude. Grab a serrated knife from your kitchen. Just come help." Seriously, either help or get out of here. Like, that was something that bothered me about it. Was like, why are you watching this, dude? What do you
They're
like?
just
What do you?
annoying
Yes.
humans.
It's like, okay, yes, a tree fell on our cars. Would you like to take pictures? Should we talk about this trauma for a minute, good sir? Or if not, like, just get out of here, dude. Just leave.
I do have to touch on what happened the next day. So the next day we hired a group of 3 young guys to like clear the tree. So Justin and my mom's boyfriend removed the tree from the cars and whatever, but there was still a lot more tree that needed to be moved and cut up, and the chainsaw that my mom's boyfriend had was just too rinky-dink and tiny. It couldn't do it. So we had these guys come do it for $300, and she stops them in the middle of their work because she didn't want them cutting her tree, although her tree is on our property, and she didn't want anyone taking her wood from her trees or being on her property. And so she stopped them in the middle of their work.
Ridiculous, dude.
And another neighbor that lives across the street was watching the whole thing. Anyway, long story short, these people are crazy and they're rude, but I think karma means that they paid for it. So their bank account's paid for their mean behavior.
I don't understand the phrase.
Karma.
Their bank accounts paid?
Their bank accounts paid for the tree.
What? I'm confused.
I'm saying that they were assholes and then they had to pay because they were assholes.
Oh, for the plumbing.
For the plumbing.
Gotcha. That was a very odd way to say that, honey.
Well, my brain works a little differently.
That is the weirdest way to say that.
At least we didn't have to pay is what I'm saying. It wouldn't have been us anyway. Whatever.
I think a better way to have said that would have been, I like to think that karma came back to get them because they were mean to us, and in the end it was their tree that broke the water line that they ended up having to pay for.
You know what? I think that was much better.
Anyways, thank you guys for all of your support during Snowmageddon, Snowpocalypse, the generational snowstorm of a lifetime here in Grass Valley, California. It was pretty wild, but we really were thankful that we had people that cared about us. We've mentioned that before, that everybody's been really supportive of us online and stuff, and it was just another reminder that we have people who love and care about us and want to see us doing okay, and people were really kind. So thank you, everyone.
Now, please, with everything you have, send us some positive juju.
Yes.
We don't need anything else like this happening. It has been one thing after another since we moved here. After a good 2 years of
Nothing.
perfectness. And I'm just really ready for it to chill out. So I'm entering this year. I'm not going to touch anything. It's going to be nice and peaceful.
Yes.
And I hope that this was the worst thing that happens this year.
Yeah, I hope.
Kicking off 2022 nice and strong.
Yeah, seriously.
The snowstorm. Yeah, send the juju. We could use it.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, I do want to ask you guys for a massive favor. You might have seen on the Instagram that our New Year's goal poster, I guess, is out. And one of our goals for the year is to get 100,000 downloads on the podcast. And while we hope that we make content that is enjoyable and that people want to listen to, you guys are a huge support in getting us to 100,000. So do us a solid. Along with those positive vibes that we have no more issues or emergencies in our lives, share this podcast with somebody. Post it on your Instagram story. Tell somebody you love and care about that these really sweet humans out in California that they should support as well, because it would be so cool if we could absolutely crush that goal and just shatter that 100,000 download. We absolutely love your support. We are so thankful to be part of the community, and we couldn't do all of this without you guys. So we want to ask for your support and doing this favor for us to keep sharing this podcast.
And I have a big announcement. Can you give me a drum roll? So moving forward, starting next week, we are inviting V from V Frugal Fox to come on the podcast as a recurring guest.
Yes.
Like a regular. We're going to have a regular.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. You guys gave us phenomenal feedback from the episode that we had when we had V talking about, the Dave Ramsey cult. And a lot came out of that. And I cannot wait to have her on the podcast next week. So please make sure that you are subscribed and that your friends are listening. And if you're a former Dave follower, you are going to need this.
Yeah, I think it's going to really resonate with a lot of folks.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Price of Avocado Toast. Again, we are so thankful for all of your support through Snowmageddon. We are so grateful that we have people that were looking out for us and caring for us and our sweet daughters. Happy budgeting.
You've got this, Toasties. Make sure you buy chainsaws.
Thanks for listening to the Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend that you're comfortable having money talks with. And if you don't mind, we'd love if you could rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you're in need of my support as a financial coach, message me on Instagram. I'd love to help in any way that I can. Until next time. Buy chainsaws.